Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. I'm your old pal Emac coming to you with Thursday NBA DFS action with your foundational look courtesy of one Laffy D. That's right. Dave Larkin will be joining me for the next couple of weeks on the Thursday shows. He is swapping out with one Adam. Ship my money, sure. Because Dave, tell the fans why.
Oh well, they know I play hockey. Generally on Wednesdays, but we got moved to Tuesdays for the next several weeks. So here I am. Here we are. This is like the third show we've done together in 10 days, and I think they've gone pretty well. So happy to be back in the saddle with you, Mac.
Well, excellent. I am glad to.
Remember, by the way, are we doing this like this, or is
yeah.
I was just eating something at the start of the show. Very professional. Like I didn't know.
Well, I'm going to try for us not to, but that side has been giving us problems. So even
I'm not worried now that I know we're good to go.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what went down on Wednesday night. Of course, we were recording this Wednesday. Had a couple trades that went through here. One involving the Washington Wizards, my sort of adopted team since I moved out here to the DC area. I finally gave in, and now I hate them because they infuriate me. They got rid of all the knuckleheads. It was fun to watch them for a couple years, and now they hate each other again. John Wall, we found out yesterday, had a infection of his surgically repaired bone spurs. I forget if it was on his ankle or his heel, but he also then proceeded
to steps or something.
Yeah, proceeded to tear his Achilles. So he is out for one full calendar year, just in time for the first year of that $170 million 4-year contract.
Unbelievable.
To kick in, Laffy. That's a mess.
You got to feel bad though. I mean, like assuming that's actually how it happened. I'm not saying it isn't how it happened, but we've seen it.
There's no way that's how it happened.
Right. I mean, how many times have we seen instances where players, flat out lie because they don't want to, they were bungee jumping or some shit. They were skydiving or, mountain biking, Mount Vesuvius, or is it Vesuvius? It's a big mountain, that's the type of stuff they don't want you to know about. And well, at this point, I don't know. Didn't he say he fell down wasn't that what it was? He tripped down the steps.
Something about falling on some steps. So
wouldn't that be hard to tear your Achilles falling down the step? I don't know. You would think you'd need some pressure.
I would have thought pressure. Somehow you were turning quickly and your foot did not turn because it was stuck. Right. Something of that range would be what I would think, but who knows?
I don't know.
But we now have Otto Porter headed to Chicago. In return, the Wizards will be getting Jabari Parker along with Bobby Portis. So we'll have to see what happens there. We have another trade with Amon Shumpert going to the Rockets. The Rockets will be getting Alec Burks, and then we'll have to see what Cleveland's probably going to get, a pick or something, or absorb a crappy contract of sorts since they're kind of a dumping ground. We have a few other players that are potentially going to be on the move. The trade deadline, I want to say, is 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon. I believe one Fast Eddie Fear and Josh Engelman will be going live at 2 o'clock and doing a 1-hour trade deadline show. So check that out. Reminder to sign up for the Osmo.com YouTube channel. Click that notification bell, and you'll be alerted anytime we go on air. And we go on air multiple times a day. So we're going to hit our first look here. We've got 6 games on Thursday. We've got 3 at 7, 1 at 7:30, 2 at 8, and then a late night island game, San Antonio and Portland. So we'll have to see what happens there. Coach Greg Popovich on Wednesday is giving a bunch of players maintenance minutes, or what do they call load maintenance? Load management, I think, is what they are now calling that instead of DNP.
Do you know Aldridge hasn't missed a game this season until today? I was trying to look through his game logs to see what the rotation looked like when he was out, and amazingly, he hasn't missed a single game up until tonight. I was pretty surprised by that.
That is impressive. I would not have guessed that. I would have thought he would have missed at least 1 or 2. But with everything going on, we don't have a lot of over-unders yet. I believe most players should be, for the Spurs, should be going to Portland. Of course, we'll need to double check that because they're in Golden State tonight. So I don't know if Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan were with the team, if they went ahead of the team. I don't know what's going on with that. But don't forget Aldridge from Portland, or that's where he played the first several years of his career. So I suppose he would want to go against his former team. And then this one is a little bit better than Pop playing games, I think, in my estimation, Laffy.
I'll be honest with you. A call came through on my phone, and what happens is sometimes it goes to my MacBook. And what doesn't make sense is that you have AirPods that are also, Apple and a MacBook Pro, right? And it goes through, so I deny it. It's my fiance. I'm sure I'll hear about that. And then the volume goes out, and I couldn't hear a word you said. I saw your lips, and I'm like, all right, let me get this fixed before. So I didn't hear what you said.
All I was speculating is I'm guessing the Spurs play in Portland is my guess.
Oh yeah, no question. Outside of Derek White, who's actually out for injury purposes, yeah, that would 100% be expected here. If they didn't, I'd be very surprised.
All right, let's hit. We'll go by position here. Of course, this is just your first look podcast, so we'll get through it relatively easily. You do have the DFS strategy show that will be at 9:15 Thursday morning. That will be Adam and Josh Engelman walking leisurely through these 6 games. Let's see. Josh and Adam, 6 games. That'll take them about an hour and a half. So you'll get everything you want and more. Oh, wait, Laffy, that's you tomorrow. Now I've got all my days confused.
Correct. Yeah, Josh and myself on
all right,
Thursday.
6 shows for you and Josh. That's an hour and 45 minutes, maybe 2 hours.
Oh, easy. Yeah, 6 games, you mean. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, let's hit it.
That's one hell of a good 2 hours of early NBA discussion.
Well, hopefully there'll be a few more trades. You guys are advancing in Red Dead Redemption 2. There's all sorts of things you need to catch up on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, look, I was playing a little bit of Red Dead right after lock. I had my computer right underneath the TV just in case anything happened, and that's when the trade broke. Oh, my God. So I put down the controller, made some adjustments. Fortunately, we won't even, it doesn't even matter, but a lot of trades happen. And yeah, Red Dead Redemption's a hell of a game, but I'm ready to get into it, man. We've got 6 games to talk about.
All right, well, let's do it. Russell Westbrook up at the tippy top here. He is going against Memphis. We do know that Marc Gasol is going to be out on Thursday still. He did not even make the trip to Oklahoma City. There's a decent chance he's going to get traded, so they just didn't want him traveling because they wanted to ship him off to the new team in the event anything happens. So we've got Westbrook going against Mike Conley. Conley's up to 8,400 on DraftKings. Westbrook at 11-3. Of course, wild things will happen with the trade deadline and 12 teams involved in our player pool. So we should find some discount dandies popping up as a result of that. So we're going to keep this at the higher end. We have Lou Williams. Discount dandies?
Oh, okay.
Well, if we say value all the time, that just gets kind of boring. Value opening up. So
fair enough. Discount dandies. All right.
Discount dandies is mine. Bargain bin ballers. I helped come up with that at another site I was at. So there's a variety of just changing. Cheapies. Sometimes I'll call them cheapies, but there we are. But Lou Williams getting to absorb some of these shots here from Tobias Harris. What do you like here at point guard, Laffy?
Yeah, I promised some of our subscribers that during the strategy show I would talk about my thoughts on that trade, but we've got too much to get into here, so I won't waste anybody's time until, of course, the strategy show with Josh. Then I'm happy to waste everybody's time with some good old-fashioned basketball discussion. Tobias Harris being off the court, though, I mean that's big, right? He's not an all-star, but he's a mid-20s usage guy. He gets a good amount of looks, high volume every day. Just in terms of per minute production, Lou Williams 1.45 fantasy points per minute with Tobias Harris off the court, 35% usage, 37% assists. Those are wild numbers, right? I mean, those are huge numbers for Lou Williams. Yes, he is expensive though. So obviously when it comes to Lou Williams, you're going to be paying a premium to get him 82 on FanDuel, 74 on DraftKings. But at the same time, if you take Gallinari off the court, he's played almost 500 minutes with Gallo off and Harris off. Okay. And Danilo Gallinari for this game remains questionable from everything I've seen, unless you saw something different. And he's been out for an extended period of time now. But I still see him as questionable. With him off, Lou Williams, 36.4% usage, 38% assist rate, and 1.54 fantasy points per minute. Those are wild numbers. And I think you could very much justify Lou Williams. I don't love the matchup, but I don't really care too much because I expect the volume to be there. And while you say he and Harris didn't play at the same position, no, they didn't. But Doc Rivers has never been shy to shift players down. He's running a 3-guard rotation in the starting line, or 3-guard starting lineup with Gallo out. I don't see any reason why Lou Williams doesn't play 30-plus minutes here. So I think you're absolutely right. Stellar play. And, look, Westbrook faces Memphis. It's funny because a lot of people are so down on Westbrook. But you realize he still has triple-doubles in 7 straight games. Like 7 straight games he's triple-doubled. And the last game he didn't. He was 1 assist shy of it. No, he doesn't still – he's not still that 30-point triple-double guy because of Paul George. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just happening less frequently because his shot volume's down. But Westbrook's still been a beast. The triple-doubles are so much more valuable, though, on DraftKings, where you get the bonus and you aren't docked as many points for turnovers. So if I'm playing him against Memphis in a huge pace-down game, it's on DraftKings where I don't think you have to worry, or where you get the bonuses and the turnovers are less important. Aside from that, though, Kyrie Irving will play against the Lakers. I really do like this spot. LeBron and company were embarrassed the other night. Embarrassed. And I had actually bet on the live betting on this game. They were like, I got them at plus 21 at halftime, right? Or it was a couple minutes before half. I'm like, okay, plus 21 on the Lakers and LeBron's healthy. They got to come out here and have a decent second half. Nope, EMAC, they went on to lose by 42.
Lofty, strange things happen in basketball.
Yeah,
we say it a lot.
21.5 is a nice plus 21.5. At halftime. I thought that was generally a team like that should not lose by 42 points, but they did.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I would have figured that they would have cut the lead in half and may have lost by a more respectable, upper teens 42. Or something like that. Yeah. A couple other trade notes here. Landry Shamet and Mike Muscala and Wilson Chandler will not be playing on Thursday for the Clippers. So, of course, that's going to keep Pat Beverly in the mix for us. We'll have to see if Orlando, that would be the Magic, are looking to move some people, because we'll want to consider some DJ Augustine. And then we're going to end up going back to some of the Minnesota backcourt, because we still know that Derrick Rose and Tyus Jones are both ruled out. Teague is still doubtful, but he has not played since January 20th. So I think he's missed almost seven games. I think he's 6 or 7 games. So it's been a while since he has played. So we'll want to look to potentially Jared Bayless. He is now at 5,800. But if he's the only guy in town that can handle the ball, we'll have to see. I saw that they have Isaiah Cannon. Lofty, once again, it's the reunion of all the former Philadelphia 76ers. Dario Saric had a moment the other night. This has just been wild. But anything else here from the discount dandy section of the point guards?
Oh man, EMAC living in the dollar store. I wouldn't really call Bayless a discount dandy, as you say, anymore. But if he's still playing like 37 to 40 minutes a game, and I'd mentioned this on the deeper dive, don't expect the huge games. If you're playing Bayless, you're hoping for around 35 fantasy points, maybe a bit more. And in that case, you'd be happy when he's facing these like Memphis teams. But against Orlando, Memphis or Utah or Denver, these better teams, slower paced teams, and he was fine against them. And except the last game against Memphis was dreadful, but he still played 37 minutes. So going into a game against Orlando, a much better matchup. I think that Jared Bayless is perfectly reasonable here. We don't have lines on these games yet, but I would expect Minnesota to be like a 3-point road favorite or so, even though they've played pretty poorly. But yeah, you're looking at Tyus Jones, who we already know is out. Jeff Teague is doubtful, and Derrick Rose is out. So, yeah, Bayless is going to continue to get to work, and I don't think Isaiah Cannon should be expected to get a whole lot of run, maybe 15 minutes max. So, yeah, it's a good spot. I don't hate DJ Augustine either. He's kind of been a guy that doesn't get much love, but he's playing upwards of 33 minutes in close games. Not all of them, but many of them. And he's also discounted. You'll always get him at low ownership. And then just to throw these last ones out there before we move on, Kyle Lowry against Atlanta. Look, I know we all don't necessarily like playing Lowry when Kawhi Leonard is healthy. It's actually, or not even healthy, when Kawhi Leonard plays and they aren't on a back-to-back. And they're not on a back-to-back here. I do think against Atlanta it's viable, though. Maybe you're worried about the blowout, but I don't put too much stock in that. And the last one, Emac, of course, we'll have the deep dive. We'll have all the other stuff. Darren Collison against the Clippers. I mean, big-time pace-up spot here. Really favorable position for Collison, who has been very solid with Oladipo off the court. Point guard position's got quite a bit to like here, and I don't think we should sleep on Collison, who, while he doesn't have the highest ceiling, I'd expect to – and last game, he still averaged over a fantasy point per minute. They just blew out the Lakers. He played 25 minutes. I like him for 35 minutes here, and if that's the case, that price is very, very reasonable.
All right, moving on to the two guards here. We, of course, did mention Lou Williams, so he is going to be a popular guy in a lot of people's plans. Moving down the list, it becomes a little bit of a mess. Fortunately, Adam will be writing the deep dive article on Thursday, so he will be sorting through some of these guys here.
Hey, Wednesday wasn't very easy either. Let me tell you something. Wednesday was not very easy either.
Yeah, and Andrew Wiggins dropping below 6,000 now. He hasn't crested over 30 fantasy points in his last 3 games, but the four games ago, he did have a 50-burger. The minutes, they've still been there. The shots, he's taking them. They're not really going in. Hopefully, he'll shoot his way out of it. The peripherals are kind of up to what has become his new baseline this season, particularly with the coaching change there with Tom Thibodeau out of the mix. So I don't mind him below 6,000. I think that is a solid price point. Otherwise, nobody except for Lou Williams is really standing out. You've got CJ McCollum in a tougher matchup there against San Antonio. You've got Bojan Bogdanovic, who he's kind of been middling. He's going against the Clippers here. He is more or less the secondary scorer now that Victor Oladipo is out. He's 5,600, not overly exciting. Something better will come along. I don't mind him in my shell lineup until that happens. And then you've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, whose production is all over the place, Lofty. I just don't know what to do with him. But we already have mentioned that the 76ers are not going to be playing the ones that came over in the Clippers Tobias Harris deal. So I do think we have to consider Gilgeous-Alexander at 4,900. Is there anybody here for the shooting guard position that pops for you?
There's a few of them, and you mentioned a few of them right there. Andrew Wiggins, since Bayless took over, since these 3 guards, Jones, Rose, and Teague have gone down, he's averaging 6.4 potential assists per game. That's up from 4.2 potential assists per game on the season before that. Honestly, given the lack of personnel, the lack of ball handlers and distributors that they have, it's really not that good, but it's okay. And he's 5,900. Now, if you could get like 4 to 6 assists per game, and that 6 assists is really the high level for Wiggins, he'd be so much more valuable, right? Hoping for a 6 assist, 6 rebound game. Then you don't need the monster scoring just to get a decent performance. What I mean by that is generally with Andrew Wiggins, you need a big scoring game in order to get where you need to go. But he is getting he is playing a ton of minutes. And I think if Bayless is someone that's going to be popular, I don't hate the idea of going to Wiggins basically at the same price, given that he's expected to be lesser owned. I think that would be one way to get around it. Now they're gonna produce their numbers in different ways, and one doesn't necessarily eat into the other's production. But I still think that Wiggins should be, maybe not. Maybe I'll be wrong. We'll see when our ownership projections come out. But I don't know if many people get to him just based on how extremely volatile he is. But he is below 6K, so I am all right with that. Aside from that, so you talk about Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah, his production's all over the place. He just isn't that good. I mean, look, does Gilgeous-Alexander have the potential to be good? Sure. I'm not saying he can't be good, but he hasn't been. He was the 11th overall pick, so obviously they have a decent amount invested in him. But I'm just not sure I'm entirely bought into it. Played 18 minutes last game as well. I have to look into that to see exactly why that was the case. But I don't trust him. I just think he's too expensive too. If you give me Gilgeous-Alexander, I want him at like 3,800, maybe 4K. Once you're getting up there, it's a little bit tougher to build a case. I'd rather, Wiggins isn't much more expensive. I'm not a big fan of Wiggins, but I'd still rather pay a little bit more for him or Evan Fournier, who now is only like $500-600 more expensive on DraftKings. I think Fournier is a far more reliable play. He's going to get 33, 35 minutes, maybe 36, 37 in any competitive game. So he's another guy. And then Bojan Bogdanovic, yes, middling production, you're right. But in that same breath, he is playing big minutes, right? 35, 38, 33, 33 over his last 4. And he played 33 minutes in that monster blowout over the Lakers. That's encouraging. He's also attempted 17 or more shots in 3 of his last 4 games, has been, definitely seeing a pretty huge helping of additional attempts since Oladipo went down. And he's another guy that you're getting at that mid 5K price point. I think when you really look at this and you take Lou Williams out of the conversation, I'm happy to say DeRozan's a fine play as well at a mid 7K price point, but particularly Lou Williams, you kind of drop down to the Wiggins area. Bayless is there, Bogdanovic, and Fournier, as we talked about. That 5K range is probably where you're going to want to have, probably where you're going to want to pay a lot of attention to at shooting guard.
All right, let's utilize that to move on over here to small forward. Of course, you did mention Fournier. We also have Jonathan Isaac. You've got Terrence Ross. Those guys are checking in just over $5,000 on DraftKings. Reasonably priced there. Atlanta guys are getting a little tricky. You've got Taurean Prince, Kent Bazemore, and Kevin Huerter all under $5,000, which I like. The problem is they're all playing. So if I was going to pick any of them, I'd probably go with Huerter. He seems to be, the scorer, the shooter, the guy that's going to take his shots. Prince, you never know what he's going to do. He can help in a variety of categories, but if he's not going to get the buckets, his production is just awful. And then Bazemore, since he's been back from injury over the last 10 days, he's averaging just 17 minutes per game, so that's not very exciting either. So the only one I'm considering there is Kevin Huerter. Moving up, this is where we get the good stuff at this position. We wondered where all our ace players were hiding. We've got LeBron James, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, DeMar DeRozan, heck, even Aaron Gordon here. Adam was fired up for Aaron Gordon on Tuesday. He came through with 36 minutes and he dropped 46 fantasy points. He was not overly popular with the crowd. I don't hate him in this.
He was projected to be second. He was projected to be like the second highest owned player on the slate.
Well, but on Tuesday, wasn't that only like about 25%?
I'd have to go back and look, but I don't know. Still second highest.
Yes. Sorry, we're both going to be right on this one. I always think
I'm not even trying to be. I'm just saying. I'm pretty sure he was if you're talking about topic of conversation, Gordon was getting a lot of love. Taking nothing away from Adam, of course, very sharp fella. I thought Gordon was more popular than you.
Yes. So I thought he was. Well, I'm pulling it up right now because I have it. He was. We projected him at 20%. Okay. I don't know what he came in at, but I could go look that up, but I'm not. But yes, so okay. Dancing with words. But he's half of the price nearly of some of these guys at the top. He is an infuriating guy that I can't figure out very often, and I go for him when he gets his 25 fantasy points, and I seem to swing and miss and stay on the sidelines when he's getting 40 plus. So in general, I'm going to want to look to a LeBron James or a Paul George at this position if I can do so. And I'm hoping I can with the various trade news that should be coming throughout the day on Thursday.
Yeah, look, I'm perfectly fine with those guys, although I don't know how much I'll have. LeBron James at that price, yes, I like him. I like him ahead of Paul George, by the way. I mean, Paul George is $1,300 more expensive than LeBron on FanDuel. To me, that's really a no-brainer. He's been spectacular, but at the same time, facing Memphis, I just think looking at LeBron James, where you're getting that big of a discount, you're just better off going there. You know, LeBron, they've got to bounce back after that putrid game. Sure. That's just me thinking it'll happen because it happens so often with LeBron teams in the past. But take nothing away from George. His field goal attempts are unreal, especially over his last 5, 26, 27, 23, 24, 21, with free throw attempts of 16, 12, 6, 9, and 6. I mean, the volume, the shot volume, the usage, everything's insane. At 10K on DraftKings, I still think Paul George is very much in play. But on FanDuel, I'll take that savings. I do like LeBron, though, across the board, only because this is probably the cheapest we're going to get him in a while. You know, he has one more big game where he's popular like they do on DraftKings, where the ownership certainly affects their prices going forward. LeBron won't be this cheap for very long. I'm sure we'll get a lot of questions on Kawhi Leonard. I guess I'll put it to you this way. With James and George being as discounted as they are on DraftKings, I won't get there. I get it. It's the Atlanta Hawks. I don't blame you for doing it. But even on FanDuel, I'd likely get to LeBron at 10-3 over Kawhi at 10-1. And I like Aaron Gordon. You know, the reason we liked him last game is these pace-up spots against the Thunder, who are, you know, leading the league in pace since the start of January, are really good for him because he's a hustle guy. He's a high-energy player, you know, that can crash the boards, that can dish out assists. And hey, his facilitating recently, he has 5 or more assists in 5 of his last 10 games. Sorry, 6 of his last 10 games. And he had 10 last time out. He also had 8 turnovers, but it kind of didn't matter, especially on DraftKings, because he did so much everywhere else. The rebounding has been oddly erratic, but I still think he should have no trouble getting some boards in this game. And, you know, Minnesota plays at a top 10 pace. So no problem with Gordon, where you're talking about a price point that just kind of fits him. It mitigates a lot of that risk that you were talking about. Sure, he can still have an ugly performance, but it hurts a whole lot less at, you know, 6,600 than it would when he was, you know, up at 75 or so. Small forward's not that bad. If Gallo plays, I think if Gallo plays, you really do have to consider him, because let's think of this. If he's active, we'd want to see what Doc Rivers says about his minutes, first of all. But if he plays, knowing that Tobias Harris is gone, you got no more Mike Scott for what that's worth either. No more Boban. Boban's a Sixer. How about that? That's where I got excited. But Gallinari absolutely would benefit from Harris being off the court. He has a 26% usage rate with, only 0.87 fantasy points per minute with no Harris this year. But keep in mind, it's only 145 minutes. So I think you could that I would expect that to improve for sure. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's not a big enough sample to say, yeah, that makes him a worse player.
All right, last guy, and we'll use him to maneuver on to power forward, because damn near everybody has multi-position eligibility here on DraftKings. But Thaddeus Young, the deuce, I do not go to him very often, but I like him. He has been doing a little bit of everything over the last 10 days. He has just under a 20% usage rate. He is averaging, oops, I went to the wrong field. He is averaging 28 and a half minutes. He is putting up 12 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Both of those are significantly higher than his season-long production, but they're counting on him now that Victor Oladipo is no longer in the picture. So he's been actually solid, Lofty, and I think this is an intriguing matchup for him, and one that I think we're going to see Indiana get back-to-back wins here against the Los Angeles teams in Indianapolis.
All right. Okay. I have no problem with it. I mean, when you're getting, you know, consistent run, mind you, 24 minutes last game was strictly due to that blowout. had he gotten his normal minutes, he definitely would have triple-doubled. He had 12, 11, and 8 in 24 minutes. Yeah, Thad Young's fine. He has a low floor, but he has to be more involved. And he has to be more involved as a passer, too, as we've seen with Oladipo out. I have no problem with Thad Young here, small forward, power forward. And then just a couple other value plays. Terrence Ross has really shown quite a bit of upside lately. And, we've seen some big scoring games from him. I think it's yet to be seen how many minutes we're going to see Steve Clifford dole out to him on a nightly basis if he continues to play this well. I would hope it would increase. But even so, he's jacking up 18 shots in 26 minutes anyway, kind of similar to what we were getting from Lou Williams, except Lou Williams can provide pass, or it can provide dimes as well. But, Ross is there. And then who was the other one? I think you mentioned Prince, but he's just a total toss-up. And, boy, has he played poorly outside of that last game where I guess you could say he was decent. Davis Bertans played 34 minutes. That game is in progress. We don't know. But he played 34 minutes in the first game that Derek White missed. So that was before DeRozan and Aldridge were out. So could he get another 30 minutes here? Yeah, I think it's very possible that could be the case. And if it is, you're still getting him at a dirt cheap price point, 34 minutes, 30-plus minutes on the second of a back-to-back, whatever. He's young enough to make it not matter all that much. And really, Pop doesn't care about giving guys like him extended run. He's not worried about resting Davis Bertans.
All right, let's look up and down power forward here. Reminder that Jonas Valanciunas is close to a return. That could mess things up just a little bit there with Ibaka and Siakam, who are both checking in just over 6,000 on DraftKings. But if he is still out, they get a nice matchup there against Atlanta. Speaking of Atlanta, we do have John Collins. The minutes have been all over the place. He was injured in the Wizards game. At the end of the first half, he got a cut on his face that was bleeding profusely. So he ended up sitting out the whole second half, getting treatment for that. But they have said that he will be in the lineup for sure. But his minutes really haven't been over 30, and that's what we would like to see when you're paying $8,000 for him. So I think this mid-tier, Lofty, where we've got Harrell, where we've got Horford, where we've got, if Joe Val's out, we've got one of the Toronto guys. That's kind of where I would like to look in the absence of anything breaking wide open from trade news.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm glad you continue to reference it because it is really important. Everything we're saying right now, not everything, of course, because we're still breaking down individual players and matchups and such, but a lot of this could be moot. We could have a lot of things that change, and then we're talking about something entirely different in the next 12 hours or less. Just keep that in mind here. You want to build some shell lineups or whatever and get your research ready for the day, fine. But I'm not even going to start putting any lineups or crunching any lineups until after the deadline because there's still so much to learn. Anyway, LaMarcus Aldridge, I'm not really sure how this happened or why, but $7,800 on DraftKings seems pretty egregious. You're talking about the trade deadline, or no, sorry, the mid-range. Aldridge, this is the first game he missed all season, and when he's healthy or when he's rested, when they're not on back-to-backs in close games, Bob's playing him for upwards of 38, 39 minutes. That's such a crazy price. Look, I have plenty of respect for Nurkic. And pretty solid front court defense for Portland. But at that salary, I don't really think it makes any bit of a difference whatsoever. Montrezl Harrell's interesting. There's no Boban, so I guess what we could expect to see here is Gortat and Harrell just eating up all of those minutes. Muscala is not going to play, so that's cool. I expect to see Montrezl Harrell play probably 32, 33 minutes here. That would be my guess. And now that, he's still reasonably expensive, but it's not that big of a concern. His minutes are at least more secure in terms of getting him up at 30 or above that I don't have an issue going there. Al Horford against the Lakers. I love center matchups against this Lakers team. Horford, not exactly your traditional guy, but he can get the job done as well. And then, okay, ready? Let me ask you this. Well, Sabonis, number one, is just ungodly cheap, and he keeps getting. I thought he was 51. I'm sorry, he's 5,900. So, never mind. I still think that's fine against the Clippers. I actually still like him quite a bit, and we'll talk about Miles Turner in a second. The Clippers are arguably the worst team at defending opposing centers in the entire league. But what are your thoughts on Ivan Rabb here, who, obviously started last game, played 33 minutes, had a big double-double, but now is up to 5,100 overnight on DraftKings on FanDuel. Ivan Rabb is weighing in at 6,300.
I think it's far too high. I watched a lot of that game on Tuesday night because, of course, I had a ton of Rob and a few of the other players there. But I feel that he had his perfect game. I mean, he was 8 for 10 from the field. He had 11 boards. He got 3 combined steals and blocks. He got 40 fantasy points. That was outstanding. 5,100, we need him to get about 30 fantasy points to be happy. I'm guessing that his likely range of outcome will be somewhere in the 27 to 30 range. And there's still some downside because he's going to be going against Steven Adams and others. And this is a tougher matchup. Now, we already know that Gasol is out. Jaren Jackson Jr. could get in foul trouble. So Rob should see 30 minutes, and that's not a problem. I'll probably go there, but I want everybody to be cautioned that it's not the slam dunk that he was when he was at his 3,000, 3,200, and then his last game 3,600 price tag. There's a big difference between someone that can get 25 or 30 fantasy points at that level or that salary level on DraftKings as opposed to a $5,000 player. So just perspective.
The biggest thing here is whether or not Joakim Noah plays. Because if Noah sits, right, because in that last game Noah did not play, if he sits, well, then that changes everything. Rob should still see, big minutes, 33 or so, maybe more. If Noah plays, I could see Rob playing, 24 to 26 and Noah basically splitting those minutes down the middle. That would not surprise me at all. And believe it or not, what I would rather do, I would much rather just go, especially if Rab's going to be popular and Noah plays, dude, I would much rather just play Noah at 3,400 and expect him to get actually decent playing time off the bench. I mean, there's no reason for Rob to play 33, 35 minutes if Joakim Noah is active.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a perfect direct example of leverage. Reminder, you can check out all of this and more behind the paywall at Awesemo. Use the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word. Go to awesemo.com, click on the Join tab in the upper right corner, and select any monthly package that you would like using the promo code EARLYBIRD. Again, all one word at checkout will garner you 50% off your first month. That also includes any package that has the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. And that's going to get you Alex Baker. You know him as Awesemo. You're going to get his player rankings. You're going to get Josh Engelman's projections. You're going to get the deep dive article by Laffy and Adam that comes out 6 days a week. You're going to get the ownership projections, which are fantastic. You get Fast Eddie Fears rankings for cash games and for tournaments. And then we've got all the other sports covered. We have probably 4 or 5 articles a week for golf. Remember now, I had not realized, but golf is actually 4 single game slates. We've got content for every single day, Laffy. I had lost track. I thought they were just doing the single games on the Saturday, Sunday once the cut had happened. Nope. It's primetime slates all the time.
Yep. I don't know if you remember. I was recommending they did these pre-cut and after-cut golf slates years ago, and there were, like, was it legal? Is it this and that? I would say it would be so great to do a weekend, weekend golf tournaments because people that had 3 of 6 or 2 of 6 missed a cut are going to dive right back into that. Did I expect everyday golf? I did not, but I'm okay with it. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I have no problem either. And you get Jason and you get Ben Rasa covering that stuff, and they are very, very good at it. We have projections for that as well, and you will be getting your money's worth in many ways, because I haven't even mentioned hockey. We've got NASCAR coming up. That starts in 2 weeks here. We're loaded. We're loaded for bear, and not to fear, March Madness right around the corner. We're going to have content for that from the wagering side of things as well. All right, Laffy, I think we've hit enough here on power forward. Let's go to center before we dip on out of here. We have one Karl Anthony Towns at 9,900. Hey, that's a deal because he's not 10,000, but sure, I do like him still. He's going against Nikola Vucevic, who is a fine option in and of himself. A little bit spendy there, but it looks like we're going to be looking to spend at small forward and center today. If you want to get some discount dandies, we've already mentioned Harrell. LaMarcus Aldridge is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out with Aldridge, Laffy, he has scored less than his season-long average twice in the last 9 games by a total of 5 fantasy points, and his price is the lowest it has been in that stretch. What the heck? What the heck? There's a glitch in the matrix.
That's pretty incredible.
Miles Turner, you had mentioned. Do you want to drop any knowledge for the odometer?
Let's do it. Miles Turner is the odometer.
That's not mine. Someone came up for it, but Eddie mentioned it the other day on a show, and I remembered. I wish I had remembered who had come up with it, because I know you like puns. I, of course, love puns myself, or dad jokes. The odometer, I never would have come up with that one myself. So props. I'm sad I cannot assign props, but I am not taking any of the credit for that one other than to share with you listeners.
I can dig it. I love Miles Turner here. Absolutely love Miles Turner in this particular spot. No doubt about it. He's not the greatest rebounder, but he does a few things really well. Number one, did you know he leads the league in block shots per game? Miles Turner does.
I did not.
Yeah, which is important because this is a Clippers team that gets their shot blocked quite a bit. Actually, centers average the 4th most blocks per game against them, and just block shots in general. They have definitely struggled in that regard. I believe opponents, last I looked, had done a pretty solid job, but really the center position is the most important. Clippers have had their shot blocked 3rd most in all of basketball this season. That's good for Turner. Let's talk about rebounding. Not a great rebounder, but in good rebounding matchups, he can benefit from that. Clippers allowing the 3rd most rebounds to centers on the year. What about scoring? Only the Phoenix Suns have allowed more points to opposing centers than the LA Clippers, just across the board. Everything that you want here, you get. Of course, only the Suns allowing more free throw attempts to centers per game as well. And you're just getting Miles Turner at such a incredible price point. I don't even mind him at 77 on FanDuel, but 65 on DraftKings is wildly underpriced, given not only his upside here, but given the particular matchup. So yes, Miles Turner comes into play as a very, very solid option. Now let's not ignore the top guys too, because Towns at sub 10K, that's pretty ludicrous. I don't really understand it. You go out there against Memphis, you drop 55, Denver 63, neither of which are great matchups. Yes, I'm against Memphis a little while ago, got in foul trouble, 26 minutes, 32 fantasy points. That was a bad one. And against Utah, 46 and then 60. But Towns has legit 80 fantasy point upside, and we're getting him at sub 10K. I like Vooch too, but I prefer Towns here. Now on FanDuel, it's a little bit different. Towns 11-1, Vooch 96. Makes the decision a little bit easier, but I still have Towns projected for quite a bit more than Vooch. And one of the big things is, I've been talking about this a lot lately. We've seen Vucevic's minutes increase. In close games, he's not playing 30 to 32 anymore. He's playing 34, 35. Those extra 3 minutes are important for a guy that averages like 1.5 fantasy points per minute, because at those price points, we'll take everything we can get. I do still like Vooch. I think it's an excellent spot. But on DraftKings, it's hard, almost impossible to prioritize him over Towns, who is below $10,000. Yusuf Nurkic against the Spurs. I like him in tournaments. He's fallen below 8K. Look, when he's not in foul trouble, when it's not a blowout, I expect Nurkic to get his minutes. Against Atlanta, played 34. OKC, 36. Utah, 32. So ignore some of these other games, the blowouts. Barring foul trouble, barring blowouts, I expect Nurkic to get those minutes, and that's what matters most here. It is it's a position that I wouldn't say it's super deep, but there are at least 3 or 4 players that I really, really like. We just talked about them. I mentioned Sabonis too. If Turner's going to be wildly popular, I'm not opposed to getting Sabonis in there. I don't want to play them together, but I don't have an issue with Sabonis being that that price continues to decline across the board. 59 on DraftKings, 64 on FanDuel. Still a 1.42, I think, fantasy point per minute guy with Oladipo sideline. So that's nice to see. And then the last one I'll throw out here that we haven't talked about yet is going to be none other. Oh, Jaren Jackson Jr., if you want him in tournaments, it is a good pace-up spot. I like the added possessions for a guy like him, especially with his shot blocking abilities. But Jonas Valanciunas, this is a big risk, no question. He hasn't played in a while. But, I mean, how much really can you limit his minutes in his return when he was only playing, 18, 20 minutes per game to begin with? We'll see if he's going to play. I don't know. But if he does against Atlanta at a dirt cheap price point, $4,200, if you got 20 minutes from Joval, right, who is fantasy points per minute this season on DraftKings, Jonas Valanciunas is averaging 1.38 DraftKings points per minute. You give me 20 minutes there against the Hawks, you're looking at like 1.45 just based on the matchup and the pace, maybe more. You could do a lot worse than that in tournaments, and I'd expect him to be just negligibly owned in this slate.
All right, that is going to wrap up the Foundational Podcast. Reminder, you will get Laffy and Josh at 9:15 over there on the Osmo YouTube channel. You will get a 2 o'clock show with Josh and Eddie covering down the trade deadline deals. That'll be an hour-long show. Then you're going to get the deep dive. Let's see, Slock is at 7 o'clock Thursday night, so that will kick off at 5. You will get Live Before Lock from 6 to 7. We've got 8 games on Friday. We've got another 8 on Saturday. Things are ramping up nicely as we head into next week's All-Star break. So definitely stick around and have some fun here at Awesemo.com. You can follow Laffy on Twitter at Laffy_D. I am at EMACDFS. And it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.